All right, well, hi there, everybody. Welcome back to more action with NP3 as we have the Washington Senators at 0-3 against the Boston Red Sox at 3-0 here in this 1908 Skeetersoft NP3 replay. Up first for the Senators is Jim Delahanty, who's hitting 250 on the year. Not having a great year, rolls a 41 for 28. It's a little shortstop over there to Heine Wagner or ground ball to the shortstop at Heine Wagner, who throws over to first base for the first out, one away, and up comes Clyde Milan. And Clyde Milan also not hitting well for the Senators. None of them are hitting that well right now. Milan rolls a 16 for a 26. That ends up being a little ground ball to shortstop, and it's McConnell who picks that up, throws over to first for the second out. Up comes Jerry Freeman. He rolls a 32 for another 26. Another ground ball over to McConnell. That's 1-2-3 for Washington, and up come Boston now. Boston 3-0, along with the New York Highlanders, are sharing the lead for first place here in the American League. Doc Gessler leads it off. Gessler hitting 583. Of course, it doesn't matter this early in the season. And he goes up there and is promptly plunked with the pitch there by Burns. So this is Bill Burns starting for Washington, and hasn't had the chance to do much at all, and already has a runner on first base. And up comes McConnell, Amby McConnell, for Boston, rolls a 64 for a 13. We have to click down here, and that is a strikeout, and there's one away now for Gavy Cravath. Cravath now rolls an 11, and he will go double column fishing and winds up with a 15 for a 2, which is a triple, and that scores the runner. Gessler scores. It's 1-0 Boston, just like that. And boy, the Boston Red Sox here are hitting pretty well. They must be taking a page out of the book of those 1949 Red Sox. What do you think? Harry Lord next up rolls a 22 for a 7. That's a base hit, and that will score Cravath. And now it's 2-0 Boston, and this game might get out of hand really early. Bob Unglaub up now. Third baseman hitting 545 on the season. Boston's just been feasting off of the Washington pitching staff. He rolls a 45 for a 14, which here is a ball because Bill Burns has that magic Z rating. And we roll again. Now he rolls a 54 for a 45. That's a little fly ball over to Clymer in right field, and that's the second out of the inning. And up comes Heine Wagner now. And Heine Wagner rolls a 33 for a 7, which is a base hit against Bill Burns. Sends Harry Lord over to third base, and now comes Denny Sullivan with 2 outs and 2 on. He rolls a 63 for a 30. That'll be a fly ball there to left field. Ganley's got it, and that does it for the bottom of the first inning. Red Sox with 2 runs on 3 hits. Leave 2 men on, but it's 2-0 Red Sox, and here comes Bob Ganley as the leadoff hitter this inning. Rolls a 34 for a 44, and now we get to go a little E-fishing, see if we have anything. The roll is a 23, which is within the range. Now, the result was changed from 17 to 22 at random, and so the error now is a 22 number, which is an error on the pitcher on Burchell. That means Ganley is there on first base, and that brings up Otis Clymer now. 2-1 Red Sox here in the very, very early going, and we're going to bunt with Clymer even though it's early. He rolls a 45 for a 14. Now, the bunt doesn't spoil the walk, and so it winds up being a walk, and now there are runners on first and second for Bill Shipka. Bill Shipka now up for Washington, and though it is a 2-run ball game, we're still going to play with 1-run mentalities, as we always do for 1908. Shipka rolls a 63 for a 30, which ends up being a bunt tapped back to Fred Burchell, the pitcher. He makes, or Burchell, I should say, he makes the play over to Unglaub at first base. The runners advance 1 base each, and up comes George McBride, and that gives Washington 2 chances here to swing away. We'll start off with McBride. 46 is a 29. Little tapper back to Burchell, who throws over to first base. He's made 2 assists in a row, and that was about the same as what a bunt would have done for you. John Warner now. John Warner rolls a 46 for a 13. That's a strikeout. That does it for Washington's chances in the top of the second. No runs, no hits, 2 men left. Up come the Red Sox, and up comes Bill Kerrigan, who promptly rolls a 64 for a 29. That's another ground ball to the pitcher, and Bill Burns throws him out, 1 away. Fred Burchell now rolls a 24 for a 13. That is a strikeout. Up comes Doc Gessler. Gessler rolls a 34 for a 44, fly ball to center field, and that will do that. And now top of the third inning, up comes Bill Burns. So this game we're playing, by the way, is at that old Huntington Avenue grounds in Boston. And that's the famous place from those photos of the 1903 World Series that many of us remember seeing with the fans all over the field and all of that. Huntington Avenue grounds, of course, the home park of the Boston Red Sox before Fenway Park came around in 1912. Bill Burns rolls a 35, normally a hit number, but for him it is a strikeout. That's what happens when you have a really weak hitter. That's one away. Strikeout for Burchell, who has 2 strikeouts so far today. Next up is Jim Delhanty, who rolls a 32 for a 26, ground ball to the second baseman, and McConnell's there, grabs the ball and throws him out. Up next is Clyde Milan, and he rolls a 66. This will be the first hit of the game for Washington. And the next roll is a 54, which will make this a single. And then Milan is able to steal second base as Jerry Freeman is up there at bat. There is now 1 strike on Freeman with the runner on second base, Milan, the only owner of a hit so far for this game. In this game for Washington, Freeman rolls a 55, which is a single over short, and that will score the runner. And Milan scores, and it is suddenly 2-1 Red Sox, and the Senators are starting to show some signs of life. Up next is Bob Ganley. Bob Ganley now throws a 63 for a 31. That'll end that inning. He flies out to center field. Sullivan's got it, and that will do that. We go to the bottom of the third inning now, 2-1 Red Sox, and here's Amby McConnell. Rolls a 53 for an 18. Now that error number is also randomized, ends up being a 20, which is second baseman, and that ends up being an error on McConnell, or not on McConnell, I'm sorry, wrong team, on Delahanty. And so McConnell does wind up on first base with Gavy Kravitz coming up, and we're going to do some hit and run, some action with that fast runner on first. Kravitz rolls is 13 for a 14. Now this is where, as I've said before, the hit and run can be a little bit tricky. McConnell, fortunately, does have an 11 in the first column of his card. We'll look at it really quick, and I'll show you right there the 15. He's got an 11. And so because of that, he's able to steal the base according to the rules. And so the hit and run possibility is off, but it doesn't matter because you have a runner on second base now. Gavy Kravitz is still up there. Rolls a 16 for a 26, and that ends up being a ground ball over to Delahanty at second, who throws him out at first. McConnell moves up to third, and that ends up being kind of a key play because that hit and run that allowed McConnell to steal allowed McConnell to stay, or allowed the Red Sox to stay away rather from the double play. And instead, we wind up with 1 out and runner on third base instead of nobody on and 2 outs. Here comes Harry Lord, and I think we're going to just swing away instead of trying for a squeeze play with the lead. He rolls a 34 for a 44. Little E will come up, and this is kind of a key moment in this game. It's a 61, so we don't worry about the little E. Instead, it's a fly out to center field where Milan has it. It's too deep, though, for a throw, and that will score the runner. It's 3-1 Boston here in the bottom of the third inning. Now here comes Bob Unglaub, and he rolls a 22 for a 7 and gets a base hit. And that Boston offense is starting to really make some noise now. Now comes Heine Wagner now with 2 outs here, runner on first base in the bottom of the third inning. And he rolls a 54 for a 45. That's a little fly ball over to right field. Clymer's got it, and that ends that inning. And we go to the top of the fourth now. Now it's 3-1 Boston. Here comes Clymer, and he rolls a 15. Just looking back to make sure I got that right for an 11. Gives him a single and then a stolen base as Bill Shipka's up there. 1 strike on Shipka now with Clymer on at second base, and something potentially going on here for the Senators. Shipka's going to bunt. Just taking a quick look at his card tells me that it's time to bunt. He rolls a 29, and that unfortunately for him results in a strikeout, and that's not what you want to see. We'll try to bunt again with George McBride now that there's 1 out here in the top of the fourth. He rolls a 53 for a 19, and McBride is hit by the pitch, takes first, and he is injured and has to be replaced. So I'll take a quick look here and see how we can replace him. Who do we have that can play shortstop? We have Altazur, who can play short, and that looks like it. So Altazur is going to be our pinch runner, and we're going to have him go in the game to play short. And next up is John Warner. I'm trying to think. Do we swing away? Do we bunt? What kind of hitter is Burns? Yeah, we're going to swing away here with Warner, because even if it is a double play, with Burns coming up next, effectively it's a double play no matter what you do. He rolls a 35 for a 42 and is hit by the pitch again. So 2 men hit by a pitch in a row by Burchell. And one of them was injured, and this is kind of a interesting moment, I would say, in this game. We have 2 hit by pitch in a row here in the bottom of the fourth inning, or top rather of the fourth inning, despite the fact that the Red Sox have the lead. Burchell is seeing his control start to get away from him a little bit, I think. And so we're gonna have to take a look and see what we can do about that. As I go ahead, I'm just going to save this really quickly. Apologies for the quick quick little typing here and all of this. Now, of course, since this is your card and dice type game, it's not really a sign of what the pitcher's doing. But when you think about what's happening in the actual game itself, you do have to wonder a little bit about not just Burchell's control, but about exactly what's happening if he's going to get thrown out of this game, or exactly how the Red Sox are going to get out of this one. So we're going to have the infield in. With Burns up, you kind of have to bunt. I mean, even though Clymer's not the fastest runner at third base, I don't see what else you can do. And so we might as well put it on. 61 is the roll for a 13, and this is the roll you didn't want because Clymer winds up being caught at home trying to advance after Burns misses the pitch. And so just like that, now there are 2 away here in the top of the 4th inning, and this very much has the it has the makings of something that could sort of destroy this rally for Washington as they try their hardest to get back into this game and to make something happen this season. So just like that, there are 2 outs here in the top of the 4th inning. Still 2 on though. There are still Bull Burns up to hit with a strike on him. Let's see what happens. He rolls a 14 for a 43, and there is a chance for that little E, and this is where that little E really can be dramatic. Ends up being a 53, so we forget about the little E. It's a little fly ball over to Kravitz in left field, and he's got it, and that does it. And we go to the bottom of the 4th now. Senators are spoiled. They lose what looks like a golden opportunity. And up comes Denny Sullivan, and he rolls a 33 for a 7. That is a base hit, and he winds up on first base. Now is Bill Kerrigan. And with Kerrigan, we are going to bunt. There's a 46 for a 27. He misses 2 attempts to bunt. We'll try to hit and run with him now. 52 for a 27, and the hit and run play works. A little ground ball to third base, and Shipka's got it, throws over to first and gets the batter. Sullivan advances now to second base, and here comes Fred Burchell with 1 out. We'll just let him swing away. Pretty good hitting pitcher comparatively, compared to some of the infield players that we've seen so far. He rolls a 54 for a 45, which is a fly ball to right field, and Clymer's got it. And that's 2 away, and here comes Doc Gessler. Doc Gessler's representing the heart of the order, rolls a 22 for a 7, and that is a base hit off of Bill Burns, and that will score the runner, and it's 4-1 Red Sox, and up comes Amby McConnell. He rolls a 62 for a 12. It's going to be a little ground ball over to second base to Delahanty, who flips it over to Alcazar for the out, and that does that. We go to the top of the 5th inning. Now 4-1 Red Sox, and they're threatening to run away with this one. Jim Delahanty, first batter up, rolls a 13 for a 14. That is a walk. Remember, Burchell does have the wild rating, and that's what I'm going to account those hit by pitches to. Clyde Milan, next one up, rolls a 42 for a 13 for a strikeout. Strikeout number 4 for Burchell. And boy, the Washington Senators having a real hard time hitting. Jerry Freeman now, and he rolls a 41 for a 28. That's going to be a little ground ball over to Wagner. Heine flips it over to McConnell for the out at second base. Freeman ends up being the new runner on first. 2 outs now for Bob Gainley. He rolls a 15 for an 11, which is a base hit that sends Freeman over to third base, and Gainley steals second as Otis Clymer comes up there. And as Clymer climbs into the batter's box, there are runners now on second and third with 2 outs. And the roll is 65 for a 35. And as you can see here, result not changed walk. That means that this W from Burchell comes into play. Normally that's a little foul out, but not if you're a W. It ends up being a base on balls. Burchell now has walked 3. And up comes Bill Shipka, and that ends up being potentially a key moment of this game with the Senators threatening once again. The roll is a 33 for an 8, and that's going to be a single through short, and runners advance 2 bases, and there is no S on at first base. And suddenly we have a 3-4 ball game, and that was another key moment in this game. Shipka getting the big base hit with 2 outs, and boy, that walk really, really looms large, doesn't it? And just like that, the Senators are back into this. It's 4-3 now instead of being 4-1 as it was before. Here comes Dave Alcazar, who was definitely not my choice for starting shortstop, but he had to come in due to the injury from the hit by pitch. rolls a 25 for a 10, and there's another single over second base. That scores 1, and then the other runner, who was Shipka, winds up being thrown out at third. And so just like that, the game is tied, and we go to the bottom of the fifth inning now. Big inning there for Washington. 3 runs in the top of the fifth, and Altazir ends up driving home the tying run in this game, despite, of course, coming off the bench. Now we go to the bottom of the fifth inning here in a 4-4 game that looks pretty even on the scoreboard. 4 runs, 6 hits, 1 error for both teams. Gavi Kraveth is the first hitter, rolls a 45 for a fly out to right field, and Climbers got it, 1 away. Harry Lord now rolls a 66, gets him a 0, and will roll it once more. 51's the second roll, which gives him the 4, which is a double. Now, Bill Burns has an M, which means that there is this slight chance that that might be increased to a home run, but it will not because the dice roll was a 35, which is above that range. So Harry Lord winds up on second base with a double just like that, and the Red Sox are threatening once again here in the bottom of the fifth inning. Bob Unglaub now rolls a 66 of his own, and we go to the second column again. We get a 36 for a 6 for a double. Because of that M now, there is still that very, very slight possibility of this going somewhere further, and ends up rolling at 23, which is not within that M rating. And so it does wind up being, it does wind up being a double for Unglaub, and that scores the run. And so now it is 5-4 Boston, just like that. The Red Sox coming back really quickly after letting the Senators tie the ball game. And this has been a pretty eventful fifth inning. A lot of fun, I think, for the fans that are in attendance. And next up for Boston is going to be Heine Wagner. And Heine Wagner comes up here with a 1-out runner on second base. Unglaub, who's slow, rolls a 26 for a 27. That's a little ground ball over to Shipka, third. Throws him out. There's 2 away, and up comes Denny Sullivan. Sullivan rolls a 22 for an 8. And against Burns, who's still a B pitcher, that ends up being a little ground ball to Burns, who throws Sullivan out at first, and that does it for that. The Red Sox do get their 1 run, though. Now it's 5-4, going to the top of the 6th inning. Warner now, first batter up, rolls a 56 for a 34. That brings up the little E once again and ends up being a 55, so we can forget all about the little E. There's 1 away. Bill Burns comes up next. Bill Burns rolls 41 for a 24. That's a little ground ball over to Heine Wagner, throws him out, and that's 2 gone. Jim Delahanty now rolls a 55 for a 7, and you can see Burchell is down to a D already, despite the fact that he's leading in this game. Gives up the base hit to Jim Delahanty. Jim now on at first base, and up comes Milan, rolls a 53 for a 15, and that is a hit by pitch. Now, this is the interesting hit by pitch because if it's the second hit by pitch in a 6-out span, then the pitcher is ejected. And we're having a real interesting time with hit by pitches so far in this game. Batters hit by pitch, we've had 3 so far. 2 Red Sox have been hit, and 1 Senator has been hit. I'm sorry, 3 Senators have been hit. I'm thinking this incorrectly. That's actually pretty amazing. Burchell has hit 3 different batters so far in this game alone, and is really having a heck of a time of it. We'll see what happens now with Freeman back up. And he rolls a 53 for a 20. The error number is changed to a 21, which does wind up being an error on the first baseman. Lord makes the play, throws over to Unglaub, who's not a particularly good fielder, and comes off the bag. They charge an error on Unglaub, and up comes Bob Gainley now with bases loaded and 2 outs, and he rolls a 12 for a 24, and that winds up being a ground ball to Wagner, who flips it over to McConnell for the out at second. And we go to the bottom of the 6th inning. No damage done in that inning for Washington, though they've come close. And here come the Red Sox. First man up is Bill Kerrigan, who rolls a 63 for a 30. Little fly ball to Gainley, and that's 1 away. And now here comes Fred Burchell. 53 is a 21, and that ends up being a ground ball over to Freeman at first base, who boots it. And Burchell is on at first, and up comes Doc Gessler. Now, Burchell, the pitcher, is not an awful runner, and I'm thinking we may want to try to hit and run and force the issue, and it's going to work for us. Gessler rolls a 34 for a 44. The 31s and the 44s are big hit numbers if you run as a hit and run. In fact, the trick to APBA or APBA-derived games like NP3 is to look at the player's card and count how many 31s he has, or in the case of NP3, 31s plus 44s. And as is the case here with Gessler, with 3 of them, that's a pretty good bet for you if you want to do a little hit and run. And that is exactly how the Red Sox play it. Now, Ambie McConnell is up. 1 out, though, so there is a chance that the double play will get the Senators out of this. Let's see what happens. And the roll ends up being a 51 for an 8, but against Burns, Burns is able to somewhat, well, not really stop. It ends up being a base hit that does score Burchell. And unfortunately for Boston, Gessler is a slow runner, so he's thrown out at third base. Clymer makes the play, throws over to Shipka for the out, and there are 2 outs now. The Red Sox are leading this game 6-4. Next batter up is Gabby Cravath, rolls a 14 for a 43. Has a little fly ball over to center field to Milan, and he makes the catch. And we go to the top of the 7th inning, 6-4 now Red Sox, and we'll see if the Senators have another comeback in them. Pretty high-scoring game from 1908, isn't it? Clymer rolls a 41 for a 28. That's a little ground ball over to Heine Wagner again. Throws to first base for the first out. Next up is Bill Shipka, who rolls a 62 for a 12. That's a little ground ball over to Unglaub at first, and that's the second out. Up comes Dave Altizer, who rolls a 45 for a 14, and he takes the walk. That is walk number 4 issued by Burchell today. John Warner now up with 2 outs, runner on first base, rolls a 55 for a 9. And that ends up being a single that beats out an infield ground ball and sends Altizer to second. You might wonder about the little C. Well, there's nothing going with the little C because second base is occupied. You can't be caught stealing if you can't steal the base. You wouldn't try it. That brings up Bill Burns now with 2 outs. We're going to leave Burns in the game despite him giving up 6 runs and 10 hits. He rolls a 64 for a 13 for a strikeout, and that does that. So the Senators wind up with nothing out of the top of the 7th inning, but there was a little bit of a rally, and you can see the Senators have left 11 men on base so far in this game. Pretty tense and exciting game. And up next, I've already done the roll, is Harry Lord, who rolls a 53 for a 19. That's going to end up being an error there on Shipka at third base. That is error number 5 of this game, and it's not been a very prettily played game or very beautifully played game by either team. Bob Unglaub up. We're going to have him swing away with the 2-run lead. He rolls a 52 for a 27. Unglaub is slow, so that winds up being a little ground ball to Shipka. Flips it over to second, over to Delahanty, who then goes on to first for Freeman for the twin killing. That brings up Heine Wagner now with 2 outs here, bottom of the 7th inning. He rolls a 26 for a 27. That's another ground ball over there to Shipka, who makes the play at first. And we go to the top of the 8th inning now, and here comes Jim Delahanty. Delahanty, 267 on the season. Take a quick look. He is 1 for 3 today with a single and a walk. And this is an unusual offensive game again for 1908. Rolls a 41 for a 28. This little ground ball over to Heine Wagner for the first out. And up comes Clyde Milan. Clyde Milan now rolls a 32 for a 26. That is a ground ball to McConnell at second, 2 away. And up now is Jerry Freeman. Freeman rolls a 45 for a 14. That is walk number 5 given up by Burchell. And Freeman is the the runner on at first base now with Gainley up again as the batter. 2 away, though, here in the top of the 8th inning. And remember, it's 1908, so the chances of Bob getting a hold of one and sending it out into the stratosphere are very, very low. He instead rolls a 62 for a 12, which winds up being a walk number 6 given up by Burchell. We're going to stick with Fred for the time being because he's kind of getting them out, but yeah, it's probably about time to think about maybe we shouldn't stick with him. Maybe we should take him out. I'm going to keep it up, though. I'm going to keep going on with him. I kind of believe my guy, and you know me, I like to see those complete games. Up next is Otis Clymer. He climbs in, rolls a 61 for a 32, and that winds up being a fly ball over to right field. Gessler's got it, and that is that. On we go to the bottom of the 8th inning, and here's Denny Sullivan to lead it off. Rolls a 61 for a 32. That's a fly ball over to right field, and Clymer's got that one. That's 1 away here in the Boston 8th. Next up is Kerrigan, rolls a 64 for a 29. Little tapper back to Bill Burns, who makes the play at first, and up comes Fred Burchell. We're going to keep Burchell in the game, like I said. We're going to give him a chance. Rolls a 36 for a 33. There's a little pop-up. And this little infield pop-up that Delahanty's got a beat on, and up come the Senators here in the top of the 9th inning. And this has the potential to be a real exciting one, and we'll see if the Senators can do anything to come back. Bill Shipka now. He rolls a 61 for a 13. That is strikeout number 6 for Fred Burchell, who's actually pitching a real interesting game. 6 strikeouts, 6 walks, 8 hits allowed in 8 and 1/3 innings pitched so far, and winning 6-4 at the moment. Up comes Dave Altazer, who again wasn't planning on starting today. Not much of an offensive threat, but he rolls a 66. And the 66 puts him in second columns, where he rolls a 26. He gets the base hit, and he will end up stealing second base as Warner, or more likely a pinch hitter, comes in for Washington. This is actually a real tense part of this game. And we'll see what happens. So now there is a runner on second base for the Senators, down by 2. And we take a quick look at John Warner and say, well, let's see what we have on our bench. We have Mike Cahoe. I don't know about him. Ollie Pickering, Gabby Street. None of these 3 are particularly strong hitters. However, we will take a quick look down at the pitchers. I'm not putting Henry Gehring, who had what I'm guessing like 2 at-bats, 4 plate appearances in the season. I'm not going to put him in just to pinch hit. I don't think that we're going to do that. We'll play the percentages, but we're not going to be like that. Looking at this, I'm not seeing anybody who's got even a better slugging percentage than John Warner on the bench. So we will stick with Warner as the hitter, as the catcher, is what I wanted to say. And here we go. So Warner now with a runner on second base, 1 out against Burchell, who's been shelled all over the park now for 9 hits. Rolls a 36 for a 33, and that ends up being a little pop-up over to Heine Warner. And that is the second out, and now we have to have a pinch hitter for Bill Burns. And this is the question. You can actually see right here what the stats are like. And the question, I think, is Pickering or Street. And I think with Pickering, we have a little bit more slugging. Street, though, we have a little bit more on-base percentage. We're going to put Gabby Street in there as the pinch hitter. Gabby Street, who thought he had the day off with Warner in there as a catcher, and he winds up being called on to be the pinch hitter here in the most dramatic moment of the game. And the roll is a 61, and a 61 is a 13 for the 7th strikeout of the game for Fred Burchell. And that does it. So no runs on just the 1 hit for the Senators. The final score is 6-4 Boston. Fred Burchell gets the complete game despite pitching a real whale of one. We'll take a quick look here at this box score. I actually have to save the game first, so we can look here. Here we go. We can look at the box score here. Burchell winds up hitting 3 men with the pitch, so 3 hit batsmen. Burns had a hit batsman as well. Burchell, though, walks 6, strikes out 7 in the complete game effort, in what is a pretty remarkable complete game, if you ask me. So certainly hope that you enjoyed that one. I thought that was a lot of fun. Probably not the most classic 1908 game, but that was a fun one to go through. And I will see you tomorrow with another game. Talk to you later.